For much of the Women's World Cup, their respective local tournaments were used as direct qualifiers for the World Cup. For example, for the 1991 and the 1995 Women's World Cup, CAF used the 1991 and the 1995 African Women's Championship as qualifiers, in which only 8 nations participated in both tournaments. There was no host. Instead, whoever was home would host the match in their nation. Both tournaments' formats were 2-legged knockout rounds. For the 1991 edition, Cameroon, Congo, Ghana, Guinea, Nigeria, Senegal, Zambia, and Zimbabwe all entered. However, Senegal, Zimbabwe, and Congo all withdrew before the start of the tournament. For the 1995 edition, Angola, Cameroon, Ghana, Guinea, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, South Africa, and Zambia all entered. However, Cameroon and Guinea would both withdraw before the start of the tournament. Only the winner of the tournament would be the team to qualify to the Women's World Cup. Nigeria ended up winning both tournaments respectively and qualified for the first and second Women's World Cup. For the 1999, 2003, and the 2007 Women's World Cup, CAF was allocated 2 spots for the tournament, meaning the 1998, 2002, and 2006 African Women's Championship finalists would be the 2 teams to attend the World Cup. All 3 editions actually had qualifiers for the tournament. The formats for these editions had changed to 2 groups of 4, with the top 2 teams of each group moving on to the semifinals. Nigeria hosted all 3 editions. The other participating nations for the 1998 were Cameroon, DR Congo, Egypt, Ghana, Morocco, Mozambique, and South Africa. The other participating nations for the 2002 edition were Angola, Mali, South Africa, Cameroon, Ghana, Ethiopia, and Zimbabwe. The other participating nations for the 2006 edition were Equatorial Guinea, South Africa, Algeria, Ghana, Cameroon, DR Congo, and Mali. For all 3 tournaments, Nigeria and Ghana would be the 2 teams to qualify, as both of them were in all 3 finals of the Africa Women's Championship. And in all 3 of those African Women's Championship, Nigeria would win all 3, meaning as up to this point, Nigeria had 5 Africa Women's Championship. There was a 2000 edition and a 2004 edition, but these tournaments served only for local purposes. Both were hosted by South Africa. Both had the same format as like the previous editions, and the other participant nations for the 2000 edition were Cameroon, Ghana, Morocco, Nigeria, Reunion, Uganda, and Zimbabwe. For the 2004 edition, the other participating nations were Algeria, Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, Ethiopia, Zimbabwe, and Mali, with a funny note that Mali qualified by being a lucky loser, as DR Congo and Gabon both withdrew, which left no winner in that qualifier match. Oh, and both tournaments were won by Nigeria. So up to this point, Nigeria has 7 African Women's Championship. They are OP, as I've said, and they are a menace! For the 2011 Women's World Cup, CAF used the 2010 African Women's Championship as a qualifying process. The tournament was hosted by South Africa, and it had the same format from the previous edition. The other nations to participate were Algeria, that was a long pause. Algeria, Cameroon, Equatorial Guinea, Ghana, Mali, Nigeria, and Tanzania. Nigeria and Equatorial Guinea would be the 2 finalists of the tournament and the 2 teams to qualify to the World Cup. Nigeria would win the tournament once again, making this their 8th. Unstoppable. For the 2015 Women's World Cup, CAF was given 3 spots for the World Cup. CAF used the 2014 African Women's Champions for qualification, meaning 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place of the tournament would qualify to the World Cup. The tournament was hosted by Namibia. It had the same format from previous editions, and the nations that joined Namibia were Algeria, Nigeria, Ghana, Cameroon, Ivory Coast, South Africa, and Zambia. Nigeria and Cameroon would qualify as finalists, and Ivory Coast would qualify after winning the third place match against South Africa. And in case you had any doubt, Nigeria won that tournament too. For the 2019 World Cup, CAF used the rebranded 2018 Women's Africa Cup of Nations. The tournament was hosted by Ghana, and the tournament kept the same format. The other 7 nations to join were Algeria, Cameroon, Equatorial Guinea, Mali, Nigeria, and South Africa, and Zambia. Nigeria and South Africa qualified after being the finalist of the tournament, while Cameroon qualified after winning the third place match against Mali. And I don't even have to say it, but Nigeria won the tournament. For the 2023 Women's World Cup, CAF was given 4 spots, plus an additional 2 more possible spots. CAF used the 2022 African Women's Cups of Nations. The tournament expanded to hold 12 teams. The tournament was hosted by Morocco, and they were joined by Uganda, Burundi, Zambia, Senegal, Togo, Nigeria, Tunisia, Burkina Faso, Botswana, Cameroon, and South Africa. The tournament format was 3 groups of 4 teams, with the top 2 teams of each group and the 2 best third-place teams advancing to the quarterfinals. The 4 teams to win their quarterfinals match would qualify to the World Cup, while the 4 teams that lost the quarterfinal match would enter a repechage. So in that playoff, the 2 winners of each playoff match would enter the 2023 Women's World Cup Intercontinental Playoffs. Cameroon and Senegal would be these 2 teams, and Cameroon was in Pathway A, while Senegal was placed in Pathway B. And unfortunately, both these nations failed to qualify to the World Cup after Cameroon lost to Portugal in the final match of their pathway, while Senegal lost to Haiti in the semifinals of their pathway. And back to the 2022 African Cup of Nations tournament, the 4 teams that won the quarterfinal matches and therefore qualified to the World Cup were Nigeria, Morocco, Zambia, and South Africa. In a surprising twist, South Africa would win this tournament. There was a 2008 and 2012 African Women's Championship tournament. Both tournaments were hosted by Equatorial Guinea, and both tournaments held 8 nations. Both were for local, regional purposes. For the 2008 edition, the other 7 nations to participate were Ghana, Cameroon, Congo, Mali, Nigeria, South Africa, and Tunisia. For the 2012 edition, the other 7 nations to participate were Cameroon, DR Congo, South Africa, Ethiopia, Ivory Coast, Nigeria, and Senegal. Both editions were won by Equatorial Guinea. There was also a 2016 Women's Africa Cup of Nations. It had only 8 teams, and it was hosted by Cameroon. This tournament served for regional purposes, and the other 7 nations that participated were Egypt, Ghana, Kenya, Mali, Nigeria, South Africa, and Zimbabwe. This tournament was won by Nigeria. And unfortunately, the 2020 edition was canceled due to the pandemic. But the next edition is currently scheduled to be played in 2024, and it's hosted by Morocco. So let me sum it up to you really quickly. Out of 14 editions that they have been played, Nigeria has won 11 of them. They are OP. They are a man-ass to the African region. Equatorial Guinea has 2 titles, and South Africa has 1 title. Alright, so the next video is going to be about the African leaders of CAF and any defunct tournaments.